Hello, and welcome to the RhinoArtisan Assistant introduction video. The goal of this video is not only to explain the product conceptually, but also to introduce some technical concepts and show how we can install and start using Assistant today inside RhinoArtisan. The objective of Assistant is to help us design smarter, reduce time, and deliver more. So, what is Assistant? It is a new way of communicating with RhinoArtisan. It allows us to modify geometry, automate tasks, analyze designs, and calculate costs, helping us work more efficiently and save time. Later, we will look at more examples, but conceptually, Assistant reduces time and lowers the barrier of entry. Anyone can open RhinoArtisan and ask questions in natural language, not only about modeling, but also about pricing, production, rendering, and much more. Another important feature is Semantic Search. Assistant can learn from your own file library. If you generate thousands of designs every year, Assistant allows you to search semantically by describing what you are looking for. RhinoArtisan understands the geometry and the associated information. For example, you can ask it to find a halo ring with a cushion stone and side stones created for a specific client at a specific time. These intelligent searches change how we reuse our designs. Semantic Search works not only with RhinoArtisan files, but also with Rhino, Matrix, Rhino Gold, and Matrix Gold files, allowing you to search across your entire design library from a single place. Assistant is also trained with all the knowledge from Boutique. It introduces a new component-based modeling concept and lets you build your own library, of course. So, what can we do with Assistant? We can edit models quickly and precisely, generate renders, create technical documentation, produce reports, and detailed breakdowns. Using recipes and user prompts, we can also automate daily tasks. Another powerful capability is technical evaluation. You can define your manufacturing standards and ask Assistant whether a design meets those requirements. You can even train it with different standards for different clients. Everything is done using natural language. You can also ask questions about your designs. So, who is Assistant for? It is for anyone who needs access to 3D information. For retailers, Assistant helps sales teams quickly find and present existing jewelry designs, explore design variations with customers, and answer technical questions in real time, enabling fast changes and a more confident in-store sales experience. For designers, there are two profiles. Junior designers benefit from a much lower learning curve, while senior designers benefit from automation and error reduction. Managers and decision-makers gain direct access to design data with instant access to weights, gemstones, production data, and visual outputs. They can also simulate material or gemstone changes and review collections independently without relying on a CAD designer or CAD expertise. Another key aspect of Assistant is that it is local, private, and independent. Everything runs on your machine, no data is sent outside, and it works completely offline. All AI features have been developed by the RhinoArtisan team, with the AI Manager and models built entirely on open-source infrastructure and tools. To understand Assistant, it is important to clarify some AI concepts. AI does not think or reason like a human. It learns patterns from large datasets and reproduces them effectively. AI models are like specialized, pre-trained brains. Each is trained on millions of examples for a specific task, which is why no single model can effectively handle text, images, coding, and all other use cases. That's why RhinoArtisan offers an AI model manager. A prompt is the instruction we give to the AI. User prompts allow us to train Assistant with our own documentation, rules, and production standards. All this knowledge stays on your computer and is never shared. Running AI locally requires hardware. A dedicated GPU is recommended, especially for more complex models. We will review system requirements in detail later. Assistant has been designed to use powerful open-source AI models, meaning free-to-use models with no licensing costs, alongside models from leading tech companies such as OpenAI, Google, and others. Remember, it always runs locally and never sends any kind of information to anyone, ever. It is important to understand what Assistant does and does not do. Assistant does not replace designers or create finished designs automatically. Its goal is to progressively reduce time and multiply designer productivity, while creativity remains human. Finally, let's talk about system requirements. To run AI locally, you need a dedicated GPU. If you do not have a powerful graphics card, performance will be slower, and in some cases, the assistant may not respond. A dedicated GPU with at least 8 GB of VRAM is recommended, along with 16 GB of system RAM. All the technology used is open source, transparent, and reliable. In the system view, you can see the minimum and recommended requirements in detail. Currently, Assistant runs locally on your machine, but for larger design teams, it is possible to use a dedicated computing machine to run the AI, while designers work on lighter systems. In this video, we are going to look at Assistant through a first example to understand the basic concepts. We start with this model, and we are going to begin making some changes. The first change we want to make is to modify the main stone. In this case, we want to change it to an oval stone of 1 carat. With Assistant, we can reference gemstones by weight, by size, and of course, by shape. So we will say, change the main stone to an oval 1 carat. Now the main stone has been changed to an oval. As you can see, the cluster is no longer symmetrical, and I would like it to be symmetrical again. There are 2 ways to solve this. We could increase the size of the stones so fewer fit. But in this case, I want to slightly reduce their size. The problem is that I don't know their current size, so first I will ask Assistant. I will say, what is the size of the cluster side stones? Assistant tells us that the stones are 2.6 millimeters, so now I will say, change the cluster stone sizes to 2.4 millimeters. This allows the stones to fit correctly. Perfect. Next, I want to slightly change the style. The cluster currently has 5 prongs, and I want to reduce that to 3 to give it a more modern look. So I will say, change the cluster prongs to 3. Now, if you look closely, the cluster is floating and not properly connected to the arm. To fix this, I want to reduce the size slightly. I can ask for the exact size, or I can simply tell Assistant to reduce it by a specific amount. In this case, I will say, reduce the cathedral arm width by 1 millimeter. Next, I will increase the cathedral arm height slightly. So I will say, increase the cathedral arm height by 0.5 millimeters. As you can see, Assistant makes the change without any problem. The next step is to add more stones. So I will say, add side stones on the shank. And that's it. We now have our first model ready. In this video, we are going to see how we can ask Assistant for production cost information related to a design. One particular aspect of this design is its color, as it uses 2 different metals. We can start by asking general questions, for example. What is the production cost? As you can see, Assistant gives us a total production cost of €1,759.96. It also provides a detailed breakdown, including the metal costs. In this case, gold, the cost of gemstones, and the manufacturing processes. However, we can also ask more specific questions. For example, what is the printing cost? In this model, as you can see, we need to produce 2 separate instances. Assistant understands that because the design uses 2 different metals, the printing process must be done separately. Assistant tells us that there are 2 printing processes, each costing €15. What else can we ask? We could ask for information such as, what is the total volume of the metals? If we want to perform calculations, Assistant gives us the total volume. We can go even further and ask, what is the wax weight of the rose gold part? Assistant tells us that the wax weight of the 18-karat rose gold part is 1.29 grams. From the wax weight, we can interpolate any other measurements we may need. Now, for the white gold part, we know that it needs to be rhodium plated. For this, we want to know the surface area. So we ask, what is the area of the white gold for rhodium? Assistant tells us that the white gold part has an area of 854 square millimeters. As you can see, we can ask for all this information using natural language. Finally, to get a complete overview, we can ask for a list of all the gemstones used in the design. So we say, create a full list of the gems of this design. And as you can see, Assistant provides a complete list of all the gemstones used in this model. Now let's look at how we can calculate costs and pricing and export the results to an Excel file. Before we start, since we are working with certified gemstones, we are going to use the Nivoda service to retrieve pricing information. First, I want to display the Nivoda panel, so I will say, Show Nivoda panel. In the panel that opens, we can select the quality parameters we want to work with. As you can see, I have options for availability and shipping, as well as color, which is very important, clarity, cut, and certification. We can adjust these settings depending on our requirements. Next, we tell Assistant, calculate pricing. Assistant will query Nivoda and calculate the prices for this model. As you can see, we now get a total price, but we don't yet know which gemstone qualities were used. So we can ask, Show breakdown panel. In the breakdown panel, we can see all the pricing details. Assistant downloads multiple certificates, in this case, 5 options for each stone, with different qualities based on the parameters we allowed. Once we have this breakdown, we can simply say, Export to Excel. Assistant automatically generates an Excel file in the same folder where the current 3DM file is located. Before starting, we will open Loom and switch the AI model to one that can generate 3D geometry from text. Now we will enter the prompt. Stylized roaring lion head, floating bust, detailed mane, aggressive expression, fantasy realism, clean high poly, 3D. Once the model is generated, we add it to our workspace. Now that we have the model, we can start asking for information. For example, we will say, What is the weight? Assistant tells us that it is almost 11 grams. That is too heavy. I want the pendant to weigh 8 grams, so I will say, Scale the model until it weighs 8 grams. Perfect. Now we have the model at the exact weight we need. Next, we are going to look for a bail to complete the pendant. So we will say, Find a bail top curved. As you can see, Assistant gives us 3 options that match our request. We simply select one and add it to the model. Now the next step is to prepare the model as an STL file. So we say, Export to STL. At this point, the model is ready for production, but we can go even further. We can say, Set the design on the ground plane. Assistant positions the model perfectly for printing. And we can also say, Prepare 50 copies for printing. As you can see, Assistant uses RhinoArtisan's copy and nesting tools to automatically prepare everything for production. In this video, we are going to see how we can create technical documentation in a very simple way. To start, we will display the report panel. So we will type, Show Report Panel. This allows us to see all the information currently defined in the project. As you can see, we already have the main fields, but we can also add new fields to customize the report. You can find more details about customization in our dedicated technical documentation videos. Next, we are going to add dimensions, which are very important for technical documentation. So we will type, Add Dimensions. Remember that these are Rhino dimensions, so we can change styles or modify any settings as needed. Finally, we will ask Assistant to create the technical documentation using a specific client template. You can have multiple templates, and in this case, I will say, Create a technical report using the template client ABC. and that's it. We now have a complete technical report for our model, fully generated and completely editable. In this video, we are going to talk about semantic search in RhinoArtisan. This is a new feature that allows us to find our files in a completely new way. Today, one of the biggest challenges for customers with large design libraries, hundreds or even thousands of files, is finding models based on specific characteristics or partial information, such as client, gemstone list, style, or any other attribute. When you have many models, locating the right one becomes difficult. Semantic search solves this by allowing us to simply describe what we are looking for. We can search by geometric features, metadata, or any combination of characteristics directly inside RhinoArtisan. Let's start with a basic example. We can search for a file by reference or file name. This is the most traditional way of searching. We simply type find and the reference. This gives us a direct result based on name or reference. In RhinoArtisan, we can define as many parameters as we want, not only for reports, but also for pricing, breakdowns, and much more. For example, we can search by purchase order. We type find by PO, and RhinoArtisan returns the matching result. You'll notice that each result has a percentage score. This indicates how closely the result matches what we searched for. To better understand this, imagine that Assistant learns from one or more folders containing your designs. Assistant opens each file and learns key information. All this information is organized into a multidimensional map, allowing Assistant to understand how designs relate to each other. You can think of it as placing all your files on a table, organized by their characteristics. When you perform a search, Assistant looks for the closest matches in that space. RhinoArtisan Assistant learns more than 100 attributes per model, and the most powerful part is that you can combine all of these. To make this easier to understand, let's look at a simple example. Assistant groups information by client, by type, by stone setting, and by gemstone shapes. It does this for every field, including any custom fields you define. If you add new attributes, such as department or any custom property, Assistant automatically learns from them and includes them in the search map. Now let's search for models from the customer gold space. We simply type find model for customer gold space. By default, Assistant shows 3 results, although this can be configured in settings to display more if needed. If we want to refine the search, we can say models for gold space that are pendants. Now, rings are excluded, and only pendants remain. We can narrow it even further and ask for a pendant with a cushion stone for gold space. Assistant prioritizes the most important terms first, in this case, the client, followed by pendant, and then cushion. So, for example, if we now say, find model for customer gold space, it is a cluster pendant with a cushion. Assistant continues searching. In this case, the model has a cushion stone, and it is a pendant for gold space, but it is not a cluster. Since there is no exact cluster match available, Assistant prioritizes the most important attributes, first the customer, then pendant, then cushion, and returns the closest result, which in this case is a halo design. This shows how Assistant evaluates relevance and proximity when an exact match does not exist. This is extremely powerful because in real workflows we often remember partial information. For example, we might say, find for customer Aramis, earring with marquise, created in 2023, modeled by Letitia. Assistant evaluates all these parameters together and returns the closest matches, showing confidence scores for each result. If only some conditions match exactly, Assistant still provides approximate results with lower scores, allowing us to quickly discover related designs. This makes searching incredibly flexible. Once we find the model we want, we simply insert it and continue working. We truly believe this way of searching will be revolutionary. Imagine having 100,000 files and being able to ask anything, receiving intelligent matches based on proximity and relevance. If you ask something specific, you get specific results. If not, Assistant shows the closest possible alternatives. That is the real power of semantic search.